Hey everyone, this is Lindsay Sturkey, and I want to share something new coming up soon that we are excited to invite you into. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm guessing that you want to grow spiritually, but sometimes it can feel like real life gets in the way. But here at the Real Life Process, we believe that growing our faith is meant to happen in our real life, not apart from it. And that's why we are so excited to invite you to join the Real Life Practice membership, which is launching in January 2025. This is a space where we'll share tools and resources to help you live out your faith in all the complexities of your real life. We'll have 2 live monthly calls, 2 group coaching programs, plus training videos and downloadable resources that will give you the tools that you need to integrate everyday life and spiritual growth. You'll also have a space to connect with other people who want to grow in all areas of life, as together we learn to recognize and respond to God's presence in our own unique story. To learn all about the Real Life Practice membership launching in January and how you can sign up, visit thereallifeprocess.com/membership or find the link in the show notes. We hope to see you inside the community.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Doing What Matters podcast. I'm your host, Teresa McCloy.
And I'm your co host, Erica Vinson, and we are thrilled that you are listening in today as we dive into conversations about life, business, and all the things that truly matter.
Here on the podcast, we embrace a holistic approach to living, a way of life that's rooted in rest, not rush. It's about connecting to our real self, our real life, and our real work, and remembering who God uniquely created us to be, and redefining success through a different lens.
So, whether you are here today to find inspiration, practical advice, or just a moment of connection, we're really glad you're here. Teresa, we are at the end of a journey. We've done a couple of prior episodes, episode number 291 and 299. Those will be referenced in the show notes about your sabbatical journey. And you're just a couple of weeks out. This is really our final conversation before you move into that sabbatical space. How are you feeling as you've come to this point in the journey?
Well, even that word, like final, feels really strange to me, but we're going to go with it of like, ooh, it's the final. I think I'm feeling anticipation and excitement as anyone would if they were working up to vacation.
Mm.
Yet, I know that it's more than a vacation for many reasons. Um, it's a time that I have purposely set aside. So there are things that, unlike a vacation, there are things that I'm anticipating that will be a little bit longer periods of rest, time away. But I think that that anticipation, that excitement is really where I've gotten to, which feels good. I trust the team. We just had the episode about how the team is feeling. So, from a work perspective, there's one side of things from this professional perspective. But then there's also the personal side of things. I'm looking forward to spending some extended time at home. I'm looking forward to spending some extended time with my husband, Dale. For us here on the farm, November, December is when I'm taking the sabbatical, is a time when harvest wraps up and is complete. This has been a really good, easy harvest for us this year. So Dale should be done really about the time that I'm starting sabbatical as well. I'm looking forward to that and just seeing what does that hold for us to have days where neither one of us have commitments and what could that bring? We have some projects that we're planning on completing around the house. And then I've talked about it on the previous episodes. We have some trips planned. But yeah, I'm starting to get excited and anticipating a season that I've never been in before. I cannot remember the last time I wasn't working. I actually think it was in 2016
Mm.
when I resigned from ministry where you and I worked together
Mhm.
and didn't really have a what's next, but I actually did because I was working as a virtual assistant. So I had a part time business that very quickly became full time. within 3 or 4 months. So I don't remember a season in a long time where I've gotten up in the morning and thought, I have nothing I have to do today. And I'm not saying every day of sabbatical will be like that either, but I'm hoping that will be some days.
What a gift. And the anticipation, the excitement are kind of leading you. And it sounds like there's so much intentional about the sabbatical, and yet there's this open handedness.
I hope so. I think we've been intentional in preparing, and a lot of that preparation has been obviously in the business. There hasn't been as much in, I pretty much have white space in my weekends. I don't have a lot of, and that's intentional. But in the last couple of years, I've really allowed Saturday to be no, I don't have any commitments, and Sunday to be really more of a day of rest and those types of things, time with Dale and I in the afternoons and things like that after worship. But on this past Saturday, I cleaned out my kitchen. I know that sounds weird, but I cleaned out all my cabinets and rearranged actually even some things. And it felt like I was in preparation for, I don't want to do this during sabbatical. I don't want this to be something that I do then,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not the way I want it. Because that would be the easy thing for me to do on my personality is go, okay, every day while I'm on sabbatical, I'm going to clean out another room in my house. And there's going to be some of that. I'm not going to lie, but I didn't want it to be my kitchen. So last Saturday, I cleaned my refrigerator really well. I cleaned out my cabinets. I just thought this is something I want to be done before I go on sabbatical so I can cook in my kitchen and prepare meals. And so that's something I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I've done some good preparation, I think.
Yeah. What else has happened in that pre-decision preparation space as you're moving towards the sabbatical?
As you know, from a work perspective in the business, we had some pretty big goals even leading up to my being gone on sabbatical. And it started play back in January when we started working on having a new website. Really, my word for the year for the business was foundations. Like we need to build some new foundations. We've had the business for 7 years. Things get messy over time. And we needed to build some new technology platforms, website, because so much of the business is virtual. We spent 8 or 9 months doing that. I'm excited to say that the new website of thereallifeprocess.com is launched and out into the world. That happened this week. And that was a huge preparation of we are working to this point where I can step away knowing that, okay, that looks good. It's out in the world. There's still some things always that we will continue to work on and grow. But for the most part, it is living and breathing and out in the world. And then the second thing is a big project that you and I have been working on. You've really done most of the legwork on this project. We help and certify other coaches in our content and the work that we do. You and I both have certification with the International Coach Federation. That's where we've done our training through Professional Christian Coaching Institute. There's a large Christian coaching school that trains coaches and is associated with the International Coaching Institute or Coaching Federation. Excuse me, I'm saying that wrong. So the ICF. And one of the things we've talked about and kind of dreamed about in the last couple of years is could we apply for continuing ed hours with them, CCEs, so that when someone came through our cohort and was certified in using the tools of the process as a coach, they would receive continuing ed hours. You did all of the background work on that and the application. And we found out this week that we were approved. We celebrated and it was huge because it's not an easy thing to do. It's not someone that everybody gets. We even thought we might have to go back and do some more work, but we were approved. How's that felt for you? Like even knowing that we got to that place before sabbatical came.
I have so much gratitude because I feel like when people come through and say, I want to be certified in the process, they're obviously making an investment in their business. I think they don't often realize what an investment they're making for themselves. But to be able to turn around and say, we know that this work is tied to the core competencies and resource development that the International Coaching Federation honors as well. We just kind of multiplied your investment and you're actually able to use that as a credentialed coach for the continuing ed hours because it is continuing education. You're just getting credit for it now. And so we're thrilled about that. You and I both will be able to use that even as we continue for our credential. And we're excited to be able to offer it to other coaches.
It feels very generous to say, we know our program and the value of it, but to also say, now you can do this as well. Not everyone who comes through our cohort certification process and gets certified as a real life process coach is in the ICF world. So we know it's not a benefit to everyone, but for many who desire that, it will be. And that really felt good to wrap up and to have that yes before I left on sabbatical. Those were probably two of the biggest things that, in final preparation, there has been a little bit of a push to the end. I'm not going to lie and say, oh gosh, it's just been easy breezy. Because there are just things, just like when you go on a vacation or anywhere for an extended period of time, that you are like, I want to knock these things out, get these things done before I leave. And so those were two of them. And that has felt really, really good. Some other things I've done to prepare for the sabbatical is I have started to make a list and I've even already started journaling some about what does it feel like before sabbatical. But I've started to make a list of like, who are people that I would like to have an extended conversation or period of time with?
Mm.
Where would I like to, they're within a day's drive. Where would I like to drive and see someone? Or I think of even my parents, I see them on a regular basis, but going to see some friends that I haven't seen for a long time, just to be able to have a longer lunch conversation, some of those things. One of my biggest fears, and I think I shared this on one of the other episodes, is that everyone will stop talking to me because
Mm.
said I was going on sabbatical and they're like, oh, she's away somewhere, be quiet. Sabbatical and silence and solitude are not the same thing. Well, this that definition. Now, they could be, and I tend to have periods of silence and solitude and practice different spiritual practices, but not talking to people for 2 months is not part of it. I don't think I could even do that. But
There you go.
there have been some things I've just been making like little lists and notes. I have a place where I'm just dropping thoughts of what would it look like? What could I do? What about this? What about that? Things Dale and I might want to do together. So those are some of the final things from both a personal and professional side.
So those are some of the things you're looking forward to. What else, as you picture yourself being in that space of sabbatical, what are you most looking forward to?
Well, this sounds silly, but probably many listeners could relate. Like the idea that I might take a nap in the middle of the day, because just what would that feel like? What would that be like? So that's a funny thing. But I was just talking with someone else about that. Like, what would that feel like? Also, the idea of waking up and not having anything I had to do that day. I don't
Mm.
know that every day of sabbatical will be like that
Mm.
because life is still going on, right? You still have things, but just starting to live into what would it be like to get up and say, I don't want to go anywhere or I do want to go somewhere. Another thing that I'm really looking forward to, and again, starting to prepare for, I've been making a list of books. I've purchased some books that I want to read. I have gotten some books on my Kindle so that when we're going out of the country for a couple weeks on a cruise, I can take those with me. So I'm looking forward to some of those things. What I'm really looking forward to the most is really more of a deeper learning about myself and what does God have for me on the other side of this. I'm not going into it lightly thinking this is just 8 weeks off. I really anticipate a transformation,
Hmm.
not into a new person, not into I won't be the same when I come back or any of that. But there's something spiritually that I do know that I'm longing for
Mm.
and anticipating and looking forward to and excited about. And I don't know what that is. I pray that God will reveal that to me. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'll come out and it's still not there. I want to be okay with the unanswered, but I'm looking forward to just that time as well. I don't know that we always are given that gift. And so I really see it as a gift. Uh, and I hope there is a modeling of, God is anticipating, yeah, spending time with each of us. And how can I lean into that and accept that gift?
Yeah, the beauty of a transforming experience, like you said, may not manifest in the way you would anticipate, but it really is about continual growth. It's been really beautiful to walk the journey moving toward this space. We're going to be holding some space. We talked about that on our team episode for our podcast. You and I did some discernment. We talked as a team about what do we do with this? Do I continue to move forward? We really are desiring to maintain that connection with our listeners and our friends that tune in each and every week. And we trust deeply that God has something on the other side of this as well. So the podcast is going on sabbatical, but it's not going off the air. We actually have some episodes while you're on sabbatical that will be playing those best of episodes, some of our favorites, the greatest hits. I know you've handpicked those. So we're excited to hear the voice and the message. What are you hoping listeners will gain through that time?
Well, it was interesting, as I said on last week's episode, to go back through and say, what are those episodes? What is the content that is something we've been talking about for the last 7 years? You're actually on one of those episodes, interview that I did with you around using the Enneagram and coaching. So there's one of those kinds of episodes, a couple of, because it'll be during Christmas. There's a Christmas episode, the guiding practice of choosing a word for the year, several different things from what we talk about here on the podcast. We talk about life, business, things that truly matter. These episodes are from all of those topics and places. It was really fun to go back through and listen to them and edit them a little bit and prepare them to be aired again.
Mm.
Just even hear the journey and the progression, not just of the podcast, but of our content and of myself. Um, so yeah, it was just fun to choose. It was hard to choose. What are the ones that would be right for this season of the year? Some of my favorite conversations. We've put out some really good content over the years, and
Mm.
it's fun to go back. Hard to say we're not going to have a live episode over these next 8 weeks, but I promise you, you will enjoy them. I was mindful of the length of time they were and all those types of things.
Mm.
We anticipate you listening in and enjoying those as well.
What a beautiful, reflective part of this preparedness in the sabbatical journey is looking back to even look forward. What's your final word or thoughts as you're wrapping up for today?
One of the things I have done for a very long time, almost 7 years now, is to share an extraordinary moment through my social posts on Facebook and Instagram, like a reflection of that moment of the day. And I've always ended the podcast kind of with that idea that every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment. We just have to look for them. It's been a discernment process of, was I going to do that? How would it feel? Because it's a practice of gratitude. I've talked about the podcast many times. It's become a gratitude practice. It's become a spiritual rhythm for me. I have made the decision that I'm not going to post them outwardly. I am going to capture them so that if I decide to pull from them and share, or if I share some of them when I get back, I've just done that for so long. But yeah, that's just, I think this is a time that God is inviting me to not be outward, but to be inward,
Mm.
to be internal, as I often say, not external. That's why we made the decision on the podcast to not do some of that social type of posting and sharing out. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the rest that will bring as well.
Mm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. We will be praying for you as you listen to some of the best of episodes and hear Teresa's voice. Join us in prayer for her. We hold that anticipation and excitement with you, Teresa, knowing that on the other side of this, it'll be so much fun just to hear the abundance that God's brings. Even it's not a transformed experience, it's a transforming experience that you're stepping into. And so we know there's going to be great things.
So I will say it one more time for 8 weeks. Although I say it at the end of all those episodes too. Every ordinary day does have an extraordinary moment. You just have to look for them. We'll be back in about 2 months live with the Doing What Matters podcast. Thanks, Erica.
Oh, thank you.